Eliza Dushku.
Hi. I got a new shirt that I think you're gonna like. Check it out. It's the artists in that band here today. There they are. Hey, the 5x5 crew. Here's her CD. You guys can come take a look and be jealous. She's the 5x5. Like in the face on the front there, you're giving like serious 5x5. I love that. Thank you for my shirt. What's up, Portland? Yeah. Woo!
Good morning.
There are voodoo freaking cupcakes and donuts everywhere in this building. Have you guys? Damn. I've had a few too many. I'm like feeling it everywhere. They're really good. I didn't do the bacon covered ones yet, but I'll try. They're good, right?
Yeah.
Right? So it's like thick French toast with bacon, right? Yeah. So you guys are so pretty. Pretty and handsome. So did you guys ask me questions? Just want me to like talk at you? You don't even have to get out of your seat if you don't want. I'll just holler at you. Yeah, hey you.
Hi.
I'm Mary.
I'm Mary. I was just wondering what your favorite character, role, or personality was to play in Dollhouse.
My favorite character or personality role to play in Dollhouse. I loved the episode Man on the Street because, you know, in TV, like Joss was the creator and the main man on the show, so he writes the first show and directs it, and then there are different directors and different kind of writers per script, and awesome writers that we had. But that one was like, it had been a few, and Joss was back like at the helm, so I just thought it was awesome. I love that episode, and I love the big fight in the Chinese restaurant kitchen where I got to be a little bit ass again. So I really like that one. Yeah, this dude. What up?
Yeah, I noticed that you've been on several FHM
Lists. Yeah.
You've been on several.
Mm.
Do you do anything to like maintain that, or just be you?
I don't. I mean, I guess stay sexy. Which, if you try too hard, it's awkward. So I try not to think about it. I just do it. I can't help it sometimes. I make people uncomfortable a lot. But someone said that's true. You, buddy. Hi.
Are you going to go to DC David Frank's Karate Expo and film and move?
Come again?
Karate Expo at 1:30, are you going to go and do that?
It wasn't on my plan list, but why the fuck not? And I don't really know formal karate, but why the fuck not? Get in there. Good at faking things.
I was wondering, what's your favorite off-screen memory from Buffy?
Ooh, that's a good one. What's my favorite off-screen memory from Buffy? I mean, there are so many. But let's see. I had a lot of fun on that show. I mean, I was still 17. I graduated high school when I was 17. I was like, younger in my class because I was at the end of the year birthday. I'm a December 30 baby, so I was always young. So I had to get emancipated in order to be able to go and do Buffy, and which, you know, divorced your parents, but really I would have been going off school anyways, and so it was a technicality so that I could work late nights and stuff like that. But I was still like, I'm emancipated, so we had some fun, you know, times, obviously. I knew adulthood and freedom, and yeah, I mean, everyone was really cool on that show. We had an awesome crew on that show. I was like best friends with all the Teamsters on that show, so we when I wasn't on set, I was like hanging out in the cabs of the trucks with the Teamsters. Naturally, it hasn't changed much still to this day. So those are some good obviously. I mean, it wasn't a good moment for him, but I remember one day when David Boreanaz came in and he was so excited he got this brand new titanium golf club. And I was like, oh yeah, let me get that swing. And he was like, dude, this is my life. Like, I love this thing so deeply, I just got it. And I was like, yeah, dude, I grew up on the backside of a golf course. Like, you know, and like, I don't know how to golf, and I totally went to like dry swing in the parking lot, and I crunched it right and he started crying. It was so bad. And then he told Sarah, and then Sarah was like, Eliza, why would you do that? I don't know, 'cause he gave it to me, he's a dumb one, you know? So, I thought it was, I mean, it wasn't fun, but it was funny. So, like, he still remembers it too. All right, let's go over this side of the room. Hey, green leprechaun, baby.
You're in True Calling.
I was.
There's a rumor that there's going to be a Faith spin-off.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you think True Calling would have ended? And if there's a Faith TV show, how do you think that would have been?
Whoa, this is tripping me out because it's like two questions like weaved into each other. So, how would True Calling have ended if it had gotten to end? I have no idea. They were going off on some like crazy tripper storyline with the priest, and I don't even know. I know that he was Grim Reaper and I was the angel, and I don't know, but then we just got sacked. And then Faith spin-off was talked about. I talked to Joss and Tim Menier about it, right when Buffy was ending. And I mean, it felt at the time like Buffy had just had this really strong, beloved run, and Angel was already spun off, and Joss was like, I'm tired, boo. Like, it would be cool, but I don't know if I could be at the head of that ship, like I was talking about. And loved Tim. I know Tim would have smashed it, but it just kind of felt like it just wasn't the thing at the time. And then I went and did True Calling, and then, you know, it never really came around and felt right again, but that's the truth. Madam, lady, you, yes?
So I know you're a Boston girl.
Mm.
I'm also a Boston girl.
Hey!
And, you know, I noticed little pieces of Boston sneaking into Faith. She mentions it in her first episode, a little bit of slang. Was that all you? Was that you in collaboration with the writers? Was any of that there before you were cast?
I don't think she was the evil slayer from Boston originally, but yeah, like I would definitely, or I would talk to Joss and tell him like a story from home or something, and then the PA would come down and be like, we have new pages for today's scene, and here it is, and I'd be like, wait a minute. So he like, you know, borrowed stories or things, and I mean, I would never be so bold as to say that, you know, I gave Joss material, but he liked to, I think once it got in, once I was there, there was inspiration happening. So, yeah. And go Patriots. What a maddening, ridiculous thing this is. I'm sorry. I mean, that press conference Tom Brady just gave for 30 minutes being like, I don't rub my balls. I don't rub my balls. My balls are perfect when they're cleared by the officials, and like, get off my balls. It's crazy, right? Only in today's world, if people don't know what I'm talking about, they believe that Tom Brady, that the Patriots footballs were like deflated, and that's why they smashed the opposing team in their last game. And it's really not. Tom Brady's a beast. The Patriots are awesome. This isn't like they like never win games or make it to the Super Bowl, and all of a sudden, so you check their balls. It's like crazy. It's just so wild that today's, you know, people are so paranoid. So, like, adult reporters were there for a half an hour asking him about his balls. That's insane. I love that you were like, I'll take the question right after that conversation. Your balls right here.
I'm very secure in my
Okay. See
You were in True Calling. I already got that. Zach Galifianakis.
Yeah.
What was
Okay.
it like working with him? I'm a fan of his, and that was the first time I ever seen him was in that show. And it was weird seeing him as a comedy guy after that.
Yeah.
So
Well,
was he funny back then? Or?
asking about Zach Galifianakis. He was definitely funny back then. He's an insane human. He was so funny. He was like my favorite part of like that whole experience. Like I mean, Vancouver is beautiful. I love living in Vancouver, but you know, you kind of are separated from all your peoples, and you can make friends with the cast and make new friends. But he was my trudging buddy up in the Couve, and it was my favorite thing to do to watch him go to comedy shows. I wouldn't call them shows because it was like him on stage and like 4 people in the audience, and he would bomb. Like nobody got his humor, and so we would shoot during the day, and then he'd be like, "Dushku, you want to come see me bomb tonight?" I'm like, "It's my favorite thing to do." So I would just sit in the back and laugh at him, not at his jokes, but like at him, and people just so not getting him. And then I made him babysit my dog a lot, and then my dog became a total stoner, and that was actually nice because he wasn't, you know, hard to manage. But Zach was great, and I'm really happy for him and his success. And I just saw Birdman, and damn, that was awesome. I'm really psyched for him. You.
Me, Victoria.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, not me?
No, yeah, you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Were there any crazy antics like behind the scenes from the new guys? That movie was so crazy that I can only imagine what it was like when you weren't on camera.
Yeah, they were crazy antics. Some of the new guy. There were so many like random cameos in that movie. Like Gene Simmons brought a whole bag of antics when he came to do his thing. That was a crazy movie, and I drank a lot. So there was crazy antics all over the place, and we had fun. That was where I adopted, on that set of the new guy in Austin, Texas, I adopted a Halloween costume because we were shooting over Halloween that became like my default Halloween costume. Because you're in a hotel and you're there for 3 months, and you don't really have one, you don't really have time to go shop because you're working. So I became bikini bitch. And I would put on my bikini and take like a hotel towel and then like just go out and like be crazy. And that was I did that like 4 different years. Like, I'm bikini bitch! Yeah. Hi, you, yeah, now.
Okay, cool. So clearly I'm seeing a lot of faith coming out of you right now. Yeah, little bits and pieces, especially the incident with David.
Yeah.
So I kind of wanted to ask how you relate to Faith as a character, because we know she's a bit of a badass and a villain, but also, you know, she later becomes much more of a person that we can kind of come to terms with. And so I was wondering, how do you relate to Faith and to a lot of your other roles, and how has that been for you as an actress?
Wow. It's funny to hear you say like there's a lot of faith coming out of me, because it's never been really something I think of. I mean, I feel like she was a little bit of a mirror, and especially at the time, I had just graduated high school, I was newly emancipated, and so I had this like insane streak in me of like, want to take cab, like, yeah. So I think that they were alike, but I related to her as also I had a lot of my own stuff going on, where I was like figuring out how to be a grown up in the world, and like what flies and what doesn't fly, and what happens when you do something really awful. I mean, I never killed anyone as Eliza, but you know, you do these crazy things, and I mean, I think that's partly why people love the character so much. Is like we do bad things, we make mistakes as people, and it doesn't mean that we're bad people necessarily. And I love the arc that they made for her, which was like, you know, she got her crazy on, she went over the top a number of times, and then she had to deal with the consequences, you know, whether it was like getting kicked out of the Scooby Gang or like getting sent to jail, and then, and even somebody pointed out at a con recently, like, the coolest thing was that, like, when Wesley comes to the jail and tells her Angel's in trouble, and she, like, smashes through the thing, showing she could have gotten out at any point, but, like, no, she was there, like, she was paying the consequences for her actions, you know, and then comes, like, the amends and the redemption, and on small levels, I feel like that's a basic lesson that all of us have to experience and learn in our lives, and it's been, like, I mean, it's just a very human, relatable thing. And it's not as easy as just being taught that by our parents, you know, like, say you're sorry, or, you know, because we can get so wrapped up in fear creeps in and ego, and yeah, get ready, kid, wherever you are. Life's crazy. So I just related to her in that way, that she was human, and you know, I think I watch a lot of characters in different things today, and like, the bad characters are like just bad, and I was like, I don't think people are just bad. I think things happen to them, and I think they they don't know, or they don't have kind of the support, or they don't have the guidance, or like the wherewithal from within. So it's part of why I love her so much. I could relate to her a lot. You already asked a question. You.
I first saw you on Your True Lies. Was that your first experience, and how did that go for you?
True Lies. That was 1,000 years ago, right? That was my third movie. It was awesome. It was, I was 12 years old, and I was like playing 15 or 16, so again, got to do a bunch of cool shit that was crazy, like Jim Cameron taught me how to ride a motorcycle, and I was in a band, and those things got cut out, but I still got to like fake be in a band with all these cool hot guys, and then all the stunt work, and it was like a 9-month shoot, and it was so crazy, surreal, because, you know, I was just a kid from Boston, and all of a sudden I was like on a $100 million movie with the biggest director in the world, the biggest movie star, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and they gave me a beeper and a cell phone, and in 1990, that was real cool. And then, like, let me hang off planes and roofs, and you know, it was great. My first movie was when I was 9. It was called That Night. It's a sweet movie. It was with Juliette Lewis and C. Thomas Howell. It was a coming-of-age story, and I auditioned randomly where they did like an 8,000-girl search all over the country, and I randomly got the part, and then I did This Boy's Life in Between with De Niro and DiCaprio, which we shot in the Couve and in Oregon. We shot in Concrete. No, that was Washington State. We shot in Concrete, Washington. Some of you guys are from Washington, I asked. Yeah, I was asking, do you know Concrete?
Yep.
Tiny, tiny little town, if you call it that. But De Niro is like notoriously a method actor, and instead of, usually, you know, if you have scenes in a house, they'll do the exterior shots of the house, and then they'll do the interior scenes like in a studio somewhere. De Niro wanted this little house, like that was in Vancouver, and then we shot the town in Concrete, but we were in this weird little house, and it was a really psychologically disturbing movie about abuse, and De Niro was abusing his stepson and his kids, and that was weird to be 11 and like in this weird cabin in the mountains with De Niro like acting insane. So, but then True Lies was after that. You, sir.
Yes. You were really known for doing your badass, kick-ass punching, kicking, beating up people. But then you did Bring It On, which is like comedy, like gymnastics, and like, woo, spirit. So what was
Weird,
like,
right?
Bring It On, yeah.
The difference between the fighting, which I was naturally good at. I just grew up with 3 brothers. I've always just been really physical, you know. And then Bring It On, yeah. When I went to my Bring It On audition, there were all cheerleaders in the lobby, like doing flips and twirls, and I was super hungover, and I remember going in, and the director was like, "So this might be a ridiculous question, but you cheer?" I was like, "I don't know. I beat up cheerleaders. I have to smoke and he was like, "Well, so cool that you came out for an audition about cheerleaders." I was like, "Whatever, a split, and I was like, I don't know, let's see. And I just popped into a split, and he hired me. He's like, you're gonna have to go to cheerleading boot camp, and for 4 weeks. Well, 4 weeks was the minimum for everyone, but I had to have special extra cheerleading time because the hardest thing for me, and having done Buffy, in all those fight scenes, is like selling it with like the angry face. Angry face is opposite of cheer face. So I'm like cheering, I'm like, ah! We need smiles, we need enthusiasm, happy. So I had special days that were devoted to teaching me how to do cheer face. It hurt. Like, it hurt me. But I think, eventually they edited it together and made it work. Back to the side. Sorry, I'm ignoring you guys. Hi, you.
First off, I waited 16 years to see you in person.
16? Yeah, wow.
Yeah, since I first saw you on a Big Open Truck.
Sick. That was 16 years ago?
So my question is, if you were to do another TV series, what kind of storyline would draw you in?
If I was to do another TV series, what?
What kind of storyline would draw you in?
I have no idea. That's one thing, like, people love asking, like, if you were going to do another TV show, or if you were going to be a Marvel action hero, like, I just feel like, I've heard someone else say this, like, I'm an actor for hire, and it doesn't always work out the way you would plan it, and oftentimes that's a good thing. So, I kind of just, like, feel it out and feel what's right, and I think, for sure, for me, like, art imitates life a lot, and so when the project comes along, it's usually what makes me get into that character is in some way, like I have a personal thing that makes me, it's my subtext, so I don't know. I mean, right now in my life, I'm a 34-year-old freshman in college, which is crazy. I'm back to Boston to go to school, and I'm studying sociology and getting into counseling and addiction and recovery work. So I don't know if there would be a show that had that kind of, I guess it's just, just really changing your world and changing your life. Like I had a crazy year. One of my fathers passed away. I came out of a 5-year relationship. I moved cross country. My dog died, my friend died. And I was like, this is a really raw year, but I wanted to go home and be near my family and step up for my mother and my brother and his family and kids. And I had been saying for 15 years, I'm going to go back to school in Boston because I was enrolled in the school before I got Buffy. I had my dorm room picked out, I was like all ready to go. And so I just thought, it's totally terrifying and I don't know what it's going to look like, but I just am going to go for it. And I'm so happy I did because it was an amazing fall. It was terrifying in lots of ways, but that's like what I love about the human condition and spirit is that, I had to have a lot of faith. It was a leap of faith and it worked out and I feel incredible, So transmitting that story maybe somehow in a role would be cool.
Yeah, that's how I feel the last 5 years.
What's that?
That's how I feel about the last 5 years.
Yeah?
5 years clean is over.
Word. Right on. That's huge.
Yeah, it was a pretty good for me too.
Awesome. Yeah. And we have so much fear, right? It's just, we're driven by 1,000 forms of fear.
Yes.
And it can keep us stuck and it can keep us, it can just keep us down. And I love, my favorite saying is the opposite of fear is faith. And so it's whenever I know more now how to put myself into that place when I'm being eaten alive by it, and it always turns out okay, So, you little person. Hi.
You're my favorite character in Buffy and Angel.
No, you say that to all of them. Okay. Thank you.
All the Buffy gang and everyone would get back together to do one final episode, what would it be about?
Oh man, I wish I had a cool answer for you, but that, I would never even try to think of what that could be. That's the Joss Nuggets world. Joss Whedon is the big creator of the shows, and yeah, Joss is he's a deranged dude. And I'm deranged too in like different ways, and he makes his, you know, really beautiful. So I don't know. I would want to see what he would do though. That's for sure. And if he invited me to the party, I would come. Go, whatever, you know.
Angel, stay at his age.
That would be a CGI thing. He still looks good. I saw him recently, like he looks. You know, some people like get better with age. Like, yeah.
He looks good in Bones.
And I mean, yeah, he's not Bones a lot. That is a hard schedule. But I think he looks good. I don't know. What would you want to see happen? You don't know? You must have something, because you've obviously thought about it. Like, what's like one thing that you think would happen? Maybe even just to my character. Yeah. Again. Yeah. History repeats itself, right? Yeah. I like that. It's come up with Buffy again. Spike. Maybe he's in the mix too. Yeah, I like that. You should write it. Yeah, how old are you? You're 11. Start your writing career. Go for it. That would be awesome. I can't wait to read it. All right. And in the green velvet thing. Oh, okay.
So I think Sarah Michelle Gellar has said that one of her favorite episodes was the body swap. And I was wondering, like, how much fun was that to do? And do you have a favorite episode of your own?
Yeah, that was fun. I mean, she always wanted to be me. So I can see how that's her favorite. That was just such a cool idea, I thought. And I mean, she definitely got to have a lot of fun in that as me. So I think when I've had the experience too, like even on True Calling, where like when your character gets set as like a very, you know, like always the weight of the world on your shoulders and kind of that serious thing, she definitely got to like kick it and hang loose in that show and get laid. Not that she wasn't, but I liked that episode too, and it was fun because they just kind of gave us like tapes of each other to watch, and I like to imitate people, so it was fun to pick out some little nuances and then do them on set and have the whole crew like, yeah, nailed it. That was good. It was a fun episode. Pink hair lady.
One of the things that I liked about Dollhouse was the constant changing of like the characters and stuff like that, and I think that it was a wonderfully cast show. I mean, everybody excelled when they were switching between characters, and I was just wondering, like, because as a theater, like with my theater background and stuff like that.
Yeah, they're your friend. Theater majors.
I was just wondering, like, you know, have you ever, like, I mean, does that draw you to actually maybe wanting to do more theater or anything like that? I mean,
mad respect for what you do, but no. Theater like gives me hives. I'm really not good in front of a live audience because I'm actually like, as much as I'm like, well, crazy, whatever, anything goes. I'm a perfectionist too, and I can't, you can't control that as much, and you can't mess up your lines, and you can't, I mean, like, I did one off-Broadway play, and I'm glad that I did it, but it was really challenging. I like quit 5 times during the rehearsals, and it was just really stressful. Like, it really stressed me out because I feel like I'm definitely someone that can kind of like turn it on and be impulsive, but it just, the confines of, I don't know, I just have stage fright in a simple word, I guess. Not here, because I mean, what's the fear? You guys mostly love me, right? So I can bomb up here and be like, yeah, but I have a lot of respect and admiration for it, and I think, I think there are similarities as far as acting, and I actually just got asked to speak at BU, their theater department, next month, so I'm going to do that, and I just think for me, it's awesome to see people like, you're always taking something that's happened in your life and like putting it into work and relating to people, and it's a people-loving profession, and I love it. I just can't do theater. But I think we can work together and change people's lives, He's pointing over here, whoever you're pointing at, sir.
Thank you. First of all, I want to personally thank you because you did Buffy and True Calling in the years following my father's death. So having a character like Faith to help me through the anger aspect of that was a huge thing, and then having True to help me through the understanding the death aspect was even bigger. That was a huge thing because I was only 9 years old when he passed away.
Wow.
So thank you so much for doing
Oh my
that.
gosh, chills.
And my question would be, you said that you're going back to school. Do you still have projects that you would like to work on as far as film or television?
Yeah, for sure. Like everyone's like, so wait, are you quitting acting? I'm like, no, I'm not quitting acting. This is something that I wanted to do, and I think, we can't really be good actors if we can't bring, life experience to the work and our like real life passions and things like that. So I did a couple little movies leading up to it. I have a movie called Jane Wants a Boyfriend that we kickstarted, and I think it's in the festival circuit this year. But that movie was really special to me. It was about a young woman with Asperger's syndrome, and I had a personal relation to that. And then I did a movie called Eloise, which is going to be, I think, we have a final cut around March, or they have a final cut. That's sort of like a horror, psychological thriller, sort of wrong turn-esque movie that was fun to shoot. And it was literally right when I moved back to Boston and was looking to get into counseling work, and it was based on a real place, this hospital in Detroit. This mental institution that turned into a house of horrors. So I felt like there was kind of a connection there. And I was just in LA this week, and I'm working on developing a show that I can do in Boston. While I'm in school. So I'm definitely still in the world of our Dear Albania documentary. We just finished the second round that should be approved by the current government, and that we screened 2 nights ago in LA. It's amazing. I'm really proud of it. It should be airing on PBS very soon. Now it's just sort of up to them and where they're going to slate us. And we're in our